Okay. Hello, everyone. In this episode, we're going to talk about automatic thoughts. What are the automatic thoughts and how to control them? And my guest for this topic is Chris Reavis. Hello, welcome, Chris.
Hello, hello. So glad to be here, Perrette.
Thank you for joining us.
My pleasure.
So let's get right into it. And let's first, for the viewers, explain what are the automatic thoughts. Let's start from that. What are the automatic thoughts?
Sure. So the way I would describe it is there's a part in our brain called the reticular activating system that I call it having things on high repeat. It's like a top 40 songs, like hit parade. And 40,000 times a day, it's repeating things again and again and again. And that part of our brain does not love change. It's very resistant to that. And often those automatic thoughts aren't positive things, right? They can be things like, I don't know if I can do it. I'm not confident. Don't do this. And it's not a mean part of the brain. It's really looking out for our survival. It's an ancient program that's going there. But unchecked, we've got massive amounts of messages happening in the background that may not have our best interest if we want to grow or do something different or get out of a conflict. It doesn't like change. So it kind of wants to keep us in a situation. And if that's a bad situation, we need to do something different, right? To change those messages that our brain's automatically sending.
And I believe they're negative until you do the work with them.
100%. 100%.
After you do the work with those negative thoughts, that you can reverse them and like make them positive. So everybody who's watching, if you thought right now the automatic thoughts are negative, they don't have to stay this way. You can work with them and you can change the one negative thoughts, and you can control them and eliminate the negative ones and make more positive ones. So Chris, what would be the first steps to do that?
Sure. I mean, 100% you're right, because you want those thoughts that are in high repeat to be the things you want in life, right? Success at work, success relationships, financial success, all those things. So a couple of things. One is sometimes people skip over this. So this part of our brain, I think being aware of it and even being a tiny bit thankful for it, that will sound strange, but if you immediately put in a new thought that feels like a threat to this part of our brain, it's going to build up all these reasons why that's wrong. Like if it's a financial thing or a relationship thing, it'll immediately build up the I can't messages. So I think the first step is just to honor, hey, thank you. It can sound silly to talk to your brain, but hey, thank you for this message. I know you're looking out for me. And I've got some new things I want to do, and I want to introduce it. So just that little subtle tweak in the beginning, I think will help the messages land. And then there's lots of ways to do this. There's one I'm doing right now that's been really powerful for me. Everyone's different, but it's called 369 manifesting. So you 3 times in the morning, 6 times midday, and 9 times at night. You say whatever that thing is that you desire, like it's already happened. Right. So, if you're looking for clients, it's, thank you, universe. Thank you, God, for blessing me with all these clients. It's so easy to land them. Customers love me. I'm really enjoying this. So you're like in a future state where you're thankful, like something already happened. And it can sound weird to do this, and it might feel a little unnatural, but it does the messaging starts to change inside your brain. It's like, oh, I have a goal to get. The goal is this, and it's normal that this is going to happen. And it's just part of that conversation. So that's one way. There's several others though.
How do you call? Yeah. Let's go back for a second. How do you call that first method again?
It's called 369 manifesting. So, and it's based on 3 times in the morning, 6 times around noon or lunch, and 9 times at night. Very simple name, and it's just a way to just introduce those new top hits, right, of things you want and desire. Yeah.
That's great. Okay, so what you start saying about second thing that
yeah. So lots of little tools here. One tool that I love, it's called the wonderment process. So when we can get curious about things and curious in a positive way about them, instead of being upset at traffic, right, or upset at being late, or being stressed out, or all those things that are on autopilot.
Scared.
Yeah, scared. Absolutely. The wonderment process is really simple, and you can do it alone or by yourself. And it's good to do in the morning. And it's very simple. Go outside if you can, or at least look outside and just notice something and be curious about it. So I'm looking outside at a tree right now and I see a bird. I'm like, I wonder where that little bird flew this morning. Right?
Mm-hmm.
Little simple things. What's happening in your brain chemistry is you're getting curious about that instead of right these messages. You're
Mm-hmm.
in that pattern and just a really natural, simple way. And it's nice to start to be aware of the beauty in our world, right? That's you're putting
Mm-hmm.
that in your system as well. So it sounds subtle and simple, but the wonderment process is something you can do by yourself. You can do it with a friend or partner or coworker or kiddo. If you do it with someone else, just don't answer. So you ask the question, and then the other person answers, but you don't say, "Oh, well, the bird flew here." No, you just the next person might say, "Oh, I wonder where this person is walking to." Just you do it back and forth,
Mm-hmm.
30 seconds. These are tiny little things. It does interrupt that flow of thought, especially if it's negative
Mm-hmm.
thought, and gets you sort of in a thankful, grateful place. So you're in this receiving of positive energy. And really simple tweak you can do for just having a positive mindset.
Mm-hmm. That's interesting as well. Because we don't notice things, we just go automatically towards the day, and that's the kind of like breaks your brain from that repetitive thought. It's like
Right,
running,
right.
running, running. It's almost sometimes like when I get the brain running like this, I didn't do that exercise, but I needed to like talk with somebody.
Sure.
And I didn't need to talk with somebody to get advice. I needed to talk with somebody to get out of my looping system. Like
100%.
just looping in my brain. I just needed that looping to stop, and I needed to just talk with somebody about either that same topic or about something completely different, or just get it out of that loop.
Right. No, that's yeah. Then you're in relationship with someone, right? Instead of relationship with this negative stuff going. Yeah. The other part the wonderment process can trigger, and traffic's one that comes up for a lot of people. It's natural that we get frustrated and there's a car in front of us and we can't get to where we're going. Maybe we left too late, whatever it is. If in that little moment we can get just slightly curious about, I wonder where these people are going, we've totally changed the conversation instead of, traffic stinks and I don't like this and I'm uncomfortable and I have to go to the bathroom, all those things. Like, I wonder where they're going, or I wonder what's happening around me. It's it's
Mm-hmm.
it's similar. We're having a conversation with ourselves that's not in that loop, right? So
Mm-hmm.
it's just a subtle little tweak, and it has big impacts on our mental health, our mindset, the things that start coming to us. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. The way what I do as well with the traffic people and the traffic guys, just say like it's a little bit more, I would not say mean, but it's different. I would say like it's not my problem.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
like they having their own some kind of their own problem. It's not whatever is going on in that situation. That is not my problem. Like if somebody is
100%.
doing something that's not they supposed to be doing or getting angry.
Yeah, right. Why get entangled with that, right? Life's too short and precious for that kind of noise. Absolutely.
Yeah, and same even with the not just in a traffic caught people in the stores or somewhere where somebody is not nice or something like this.
Right.
I don't take it personally. I just say like there's something in their life. It's not
Right.
connected to my life, and I'm not gonna take it on to me, because now if I'm gonna pay attention to it, then it becomes my problem. But if
Right.
I just yeah, I don't take it on my shoulders. I just like their thing, they deal with it. I'm gonna go on with my day.
100%. Yep. And it's so easy to get, if we have automatic thoughts going, it's so easy to get entangled in that and have like a whole story and movie we play, right? About,
Mm-hmm.
why'd they do that to me? And, this whole noise, we can give it a lot of energy if we're not careful. And it's
Yeah.
everyone's, it's easy to do, right? We can pretend, oh, I don't do that. I'm like, the next time you're in line in the grocery store and maybe there's a kid screaming or yelling, it's like, oh, yes, I do.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but it's like the first reaction is okay that you have that first reaction,
Of
like
course.
whatever it is, like getting angry or something. But
Right.
yeah, like notice that reaction and stop it right away. Don't give it any powers, because as soon as you give it power, it starts going in the wrong direction, not where you want it to go.
Right. Absolutely.
Yeah. So that happens a lot. But a lot of people grow up with the automatic toaster from their parents in childhood.
Of course.
They are not. Those are usually the negative ones, and those are, I believe, harder to fight with. I didn't have that, but I've seen it with a lot of the clients or people that I deal with, and they just have repetitive thoughts that they heard from their parents.
Absolutely. And it has such a big imprint on the brain. And their parents heard it from their parents, right? They're just repeating
Mm-hmm.
what they heard. It's no ill intent. Um, and it takes effort to interrupt it. What's interesting is when another person connects to that person with negative thoughts, and they can be, empathetic and validate. They don't have to agree with them at all, but where
Mm-hmm.
they can be empathetic and validate, it starts to break up some of that stuff, because the negative thoughts were kind of alone. Like you talked about being in a loop. We're not in relationship with anyone. As soon as I'm in a relationship with someone and I can kind of tell them my story, I can let go of that, some of that,
Mm-hmm.
right? And I feel heard and seen and validated. I'm like, oh, I don't really maybe need that story as much as I did, or maybe it's not serving me anymore, right? And I think a lot of beliefs about other cultures and things, right, can get ingrained early.
Mm-hmm.
We'll have beliefs about, oh, these people are this way, and it's not just negative; it's incredibly dangerous, right? Because it's not true,
Yeah,
right? But our
exactly.
brain thinks it is because it's on high repeat, and high repeat does not mean true. It just means it's on high repeat.
Mm-hmm. So, but what would be like a trick to stop them? I'm just thinking something really easy to do. First steps.
To
I
to
was just
stop
my
it,
thinking like maybe to write them out.
you could certainly write them out. My only concern with that is to do it in a way that you're being observant that these exist, but then like let them go, burn
Mm-hmm.
them, rip them up, whatever else, so they don't get more residency. Like sometimes
Mm-hmm.
when you write things, it validates it.
Yeah, but
So
then not to keep it. Yeah, write them out
right,
and just like cancel. Like if we
right,
go to like neuro linguistic programming, then you can just say
right,
read it once, cancel it,
right,
cross it over, done with this one.
hundred
Next
percent,
one, cross it over, cancel it, cross it over, next one, and then just throw the paper away and don't think about it. Don't think about it anymore. A lot of time, what you were saying with the brain, it happens that the brain is like, okay, we canceled it.
right, right, and it has like a package for it, right? When our brains can define things, if we have this stressor and this thing's freaking it out, if we give it a structure, and this can sound silly, but pretend it's a cloud, give it a color, give it a noise, give it movement, and let it float away, our brains
Hmm.
can package that thing up, and it doesn't just have like residency all the time. It's like, oh, the work stress, the boss does this thing, we'll put it in a little package and let your brain package it up, and you don't, if you need it later, you can get access to it. It's not going
Hmm.
away, so you don't have to fear that, but it's not like right in front of you all the time. So that's a
Yeah.
simple tweak. The other is just, if you do write it down, and NLP is great, 100% agree, you can just ask yourself if it's true, because a lot of time those things aren't
No, they're
really
not true at
true,
all.
right?
Hmm.
And if it weren't true, how would life be better for you, right?
Hmm.
Just simple asking, is it true? And then forgiving yourself for thinking it. Like, it's not about making
Hmm.
yourself bad for having these thoughts. They're just there. They're just thoughts.
Hmm.
It's let's give them less energy, and let's give thoughts that move you forward more energy.
Hmm. I also suggest that to think of those as they're not your thoughts. To
Ah,
understand, acknowledge that those are not actually my own thoughts. I don't think like that about myself. It's somebody else. It's in my brain just because somebody else said it. I don't think that way about myself.
nice. No, that's great. Yeah, that's great. And it's, there's lots of filters that get changed in our brains. Like, they've done lots of studies at MIT and Harvard and looked at MRI scans, and like, there's hard science behind this, that as we introduced these different ways of thinking or different ways of solving problems, it literally lights up different neural pathways in our brain.
Hmm.
And we have literally different paths to go on. So when a stressor like that comes in again, it doesn't have to go down the same trail, right? It has, oh, I can
Hmm.
go down this path, or I don't need to think about it at all, right? It's So there's some really amazing neuroscience around this that has, flat out proven as you have different problem solving skills, as you have different messages you're telling yourself, you literally
Mhm.
light up different neural pathways in your brain, which is really cool.
Yeah. And it's just have to break, like the trick is to break that loop,
Yep.
break it down, and replace it with something else, or just let it go. And but I think like now I was thinking there as well. The problem is a lot of time people don't have new things to think about.
Mm.
They have to like they're repeating the old thing because they don't have anything new. So they probably have to just introduce something new in their life.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think, adding the word yet at the end can be positive. So, like, I will never make enough money. No one ever cares about me. I don't make enough money. No one will love me. Those are really common messages for a lot of people. I
Mm-hmm.
think everyone. And, or I will never find a job. I'm like, instead of change that, I haven't found the job yet. Or,
Mm-hmm.
I'm open to the possibility of finding a new job. Maybe we can't quite get to, I'm going to be a multimillionaire, but we
Mm-hmm.
could get to, I'm open to the possibility of a new job will show up. So I think just little, sometimes for some people, little corrections are easier to take
Mm-hmm.
in and they can believe it. Like, I can believe that there's a possibility something will get better, right? That's
Mm-hmm.
relatively easy to say. And then your brain, what's interesting, our brains are problem solving things. They love to solve puzzles. So, like, the
Mm-hmm.
puzzle for you to solve, brain, is not like, why do I suck, but like, how can I be successful, or what new job can I have, or what. So give it a positive problem to solve, I think starts
Mm-hmm.
to break up some of that too. Like, how could I become more financially successful? What steps could I take to have that new job or that new relationship, or figure out things with my kiddo when we're at wit's ends? Like, what could I do, instead of the I can't do anything, or I'm stuck, or I'm a victim, right? Which just
Mm-hmm.
totally limits. I mean, the brain will prove it right. I was like, yep, you're right. You're a victim. Let me just recycle that and make sure that you're a victim. Like, it's
Mm-hmm.
just doing its job.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. I like what you said as well, like having the small steps instead of big one,
Yeah.
because you can think about the big step would be so hard to get reach.
Right.
But you're like, oh, I would never be able to do that. But think about something smaller, and it's like, oh, but I can do this one. Like
100%.
seems like the big step is like, oh, there's too far, it will take too much time or something like this. But
Right.
something small in the beginning, that first step is it's usually so easy. Just take like maybe it's something just to write the things down or make one phone call or write one email just to get the ball rolling.
Right.
Just that little first step towards whatever that is, the big thing that you want to get.
100%. And your brain sees the success. Oh, this is successful. Right. And it's easy to build on. A lot of people have these big, amazing goals, and the first day, they're not going to probably be successful with that. Right. They're not going to be a millionaire tomorrow if they're
Mm-hmm.
not one already. It might happen, but low likelihood. And then the brain goes, see, and then you get locked into that noise versus, I'm going to research jobs, careers, side hustles that help me move forward and identify 3 that I think I could do. Okay, that's something you can do and you have full control over, and your brain's going to start rewarding that, with a dopamine hit, and you'll build on that. So yeah, I totally agree. I see this with weight loss, with
Mm-hmm.
addiction recovery, all this. It's a very similar brain pattern, even though it feels like they're very different. It's your brain's locked on some sort of thing, and it's unlocking it. It's building a new pattern in, and then letting it do its job of, I'm going to repeat that pattern, and I'm going to put you in a state where you're solving problems, right? That's, our
Mm-hmm.
brains love to solve problems. Like, let's
Yeah.
let's give them fun ones to solve.
And I think brains also like to have those little wins instead of like
Totally.
waiting for that big moment that's like it seems unreachable.
Right.
When the brain gets those like, ooh, look what I did. Ooh, look what I did. And it's like
Right.
more often, often. And it's like every little step goes on and on and on. And it's just like brain gets that cheerful moment of that dopamine of like that, oh, look at that.
Totally.
I did this.
Yep.
So okay, Chris, I want to talk about your book as well.
Okay.
Well, I see your book in the background. Do you have it in front of you too? I think
I
I
don't have
have
it right
it.
in front of me, but we can pretend I do. Yeah. So my latest book is Boost Your BS Resilience at Work. And backstory on this, it's my third book. I never really thought I'd be an author of three things, but I am now.
Oh.
And it hit bestseller, which is always fun and exciting. I'm
Mm-hmm.
glad it's useful and serves people. Um, my journey started, I have a son who's on the autism spectrum, and I
Mm-hmm.
did a lot of research around how the brain works, and brilliant people have done this work. I just learned from them. Dr. Stuart Abalon and Dr. Ross Green and Dr. Bruce Perry. These folks have really studied trauma and autism and PTSD, which have very similar brain profiles.
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't believe at first their approach. It uses empathy and validation, which in parenting, like, what do you mean empathy and validation? And then have the kiddo solve their own problem. And a lot of parenting is command control, or
Mm-hmm.
do this or else, or rewards charts, or those things really don't work well with kids on the autism spectrum. They actually backfire.
Mm-hmm.
So all of these approaches, I just was curious one day and applied at my work with my team.
Mm-hmm.
And obviously a little different in the workspace. They're not my children, all that, but the approach is the same. So if someone was maybe not performing well, instead of getting upset or writing them up or all the things that you would kind of normally do, I got curious about what was going on for them and had a small conversation and got empathetic. And after they felt really hurt, I said, okay, my concern is this, right? We need to hit this date. We need to hit this time. We need to show up this way for our customers, and ask them how they would solve it. And
Mm-hmm.
so what that does over time is it builds up their problem solving abilities. It builds up their stress response, and they're not stuck anymore. And it sounds subtle and a little woo woo. And I'm very much a left brain science kind of person, but the
Mm-hmm.
science behind it is like rock solid, like very,
Mm-hmm.
very high evidence base. At my work, my team was a high performing team, but just blew the doors off in terms of their ideation and their innovation and having fun at work, and even being silly and lighthearted, which I consider a positive thing, because that comes with the
Yeah,
innovation
I
energy,
like that.
right? And the happiness, and people want to show up. It's like, oh, I want to go to work. I'm not sad on a Sunday. I'm excited to see my team. So I wanted to get this out wider spread, because I see lots of issues. Like, people kind of shut off their work world and it's just going to stink and I don't like it. And that has a big impact on our physical health.
Mm-hmm.
And I just see these brilliant people that are stuck. Like, they've got brilliant ideas up here that they can't get to because they're stuck. So that's why I wrote the book. It's very, very practical. It's got some humorous work stories that I think a lot of people identify with, of different work situations. It's meant to be fun and lighthearted, but just really practical, and
Mm-hmm.
give people a way that they can implement these little tweaks right away, and have success at work, and enjoy it a lot more.
Mm-hmm. And that makes a difference when you enjoy your work. And I think every work can be enjoyable.
Absolutely.
You
Or
just have to have a good mindset about how you.
yeah, absolutely. And there's absolutely the outliers where there's maybe an abusive work situation. So then let's package that up and figure out how you exit on your own terms, not exit angry and then hop to
Mm-hmm.
another job where a lot of the BS is going to follow you, because we're
Mm-hmm.
accountable for some of that own stuff, as hard as that is. And it
Mm-hmm.
might seem like stuff's being done to us. We're part of that conversation and relationship. So, like, what can we change? So we show up different. So we encourage different types of people to work with us. And that's difficult. I have a chapter at the end of the book that, after leading through all this stuff, and a lot of people will identify with, this thing was done to me. At the end, I ask, what's your part in this? And the chapter is entitled, are you the a-hole? But we all have issues, right? And we like to
Yeah.
think that we're not, but there's times that we weren't at our best. We didn't say the perfect thing. We made a mistake, and that has an effect too. And it's important to be aware of that, not to beat yourself up, but just go like, oh, like, when I show up this way, it's difficult
Mm-hmm.
for people to work with me, or difficult for me to serve, and like, how could I do that just slightly differently, right? So
Mm-hmm.
so I like it better. So anyway, that's the book. It was an awful lot of fun to write. After being in the work world for 35 years, I've got lots of stories, like most people. um and I've talked to lots of executives and leaders that are experiencing this lack of resiliency, lack of innovation. That's all about that mindset and these thoughts. That's a big part of it. Is we can get caught up in, work stinks, they don't like me, it's never going to happen for me, blah 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 blah. And that's not a fun place to be. It's not going to produce really cool, innovative things, and it's really not going to serve the end customers of that company when people are stuck in that headspace.
Hmm. Yeah, that's true. And what else I wanted to say? What are the other two books that you wrote?
Yeah, the first book I wrote is called Unleashed, and it's my son's and my journey through autism. And I take some very, I think, complex brain science stuff that normally is for uh, psychiatrists, psychologists, some folks in the schools, but not really broken down for everyday parents like me just to use. So that was my attempt. Was like, okay, here's this incredible science that works well, but let me break it down and make it really, really simple so anyone can do it. So that's an Unleashed. That was my first book, and there my goal is to serve parents. My current book is my goal to serve people at work. My middle book is about Bitcoin, actually,
Hmm.
and it's about like just understanding our financial system, which a lot of us don't really look at and understand
Hmm.
how money is just sort of printed out of thin air by the Fed and the Treasury,
Hmm.
and it's not based on gold. It hasn't been since the 70s. And just understanding whether you like Bitcoin or not, what a different pattern could look like, right? So it's making folks aware of the monetary system that's underneath all of our financial worlds and just being aware of it, right? Where does inflation really come from? It's not whoever is president at
Hmm.
all. It's what 12 banks decide. And banks, of course, their products and services are mostly debt related. So they want you to be in a debt product. That's just their business. So if they're running the financial system, it's not a surprise that we're in a lot of debt, right? Personally, as a country, because that's their product. So
Hmm.
that's what's in that book. And
Yeah,
it's really
I
just
actually like. I didn't know about that book. I'm gonna have to come make you come back and talk
okay.
about the monies and
Happy.
money and all that, because that has been one of the topics that I wanted to introduce to my viewers as well. Like I wanted to talk about the future of money.
Sure. Happy
So
to.
maybe we'll
Yeah, I'd be
do that
honored.
episode. So everybody's watching. Maybe in the future there's going to be another episode with Chris Reavis. So look up if you're going to have the episode about future of money. But what are the other things for the viewers? All the descriptions for Chris are, all the links for the Chris are in descriptions. So if you want to contact him, but what could I guess the viewers contact you for?
Yeah, you could certainly find my book. It's there. It's on Amazon. The other thing is I've got a freebie, a simple little mini class that just comes to your email, so you don't need to sign up or have a password or go into some site. It just drops a little short video over 5 days, and it shows you if you've got a proposal that you need an executive at your work to approve. It shows you a better way. You'll at least get 2 times more likelihood of them saying yes instead of the
Mhm.
same let me throw a PowerPoint at you and talk at you for 45 minutes, which they see all day long and is exhausting. Here's a brain based way that you can land your message in a relationship way that's going to get you closer to a yes and certainly closer to like a real discussion instead
Mhm.
of reading them a PowerPoint. So that's a freebie that's there. I've used it a ton. It works really, really well. It's actually a lot of fun. You make use of what's called a trickle feed, and you just give little tidbits of information, and you don't share the big honking PowerPoint to them because they frankly don't want to be read to anymore. They're
Mhm.
tired of it. So it's a lot more fun way to interact. And usually executives will say yes, or they'll say yes quicker. A lot of executives will say no just in principle
Mhm.
first and go do some homework. But you're going to be a lot closer to a yes than just reading them a PowerPoint, which is what most people do. It's really stunning. Like, let me read you my deck and here's my pitch. They can tell you what's on those slides. I mean,
Yeah.
your next slide will say this. So
Mhm.
that's there. It's a freebie for anyone listening that wants to go to the website. It's right there. You'll see. You can sign up for it in email, and you can unsubscribe anytime. There's
Mhm.
no big product to buy or anything like that. It's just a little quick thing you can learn.
Yeah, that's awesome. Um, I'm also like, and one of the things that I do, I'm a happiness expert. So I teach a lot of things about happiness. So ask all my guests, what does happiness means to you? Like not what generally people think happiness is, but what happiness means to you, Chris.
Wow. when you ask that question, it's love and light. I feel light. I feel connected to my family and people I want to serve and doing really interesting work. Yeah, it's happiness and love and light are kind of all one thing for me. Yeah.
Cool. Yeah. Because I want to point out always, as a happiness expert, I want to point out that you have to know what is for you. It doesn't matter what makes other people happy. You have to know what makes you happy.
Love that.
That's the difference. That's when you learn to be happy, when you know what makes you happy.
That's
So
great guidance. Yeah.
Any last words before we're gonna end this episode?
No, thank you for having me on. And just, if folks are struggling out there, you don't have to stay in it, whatever that is. There are ways out. And we kind of all owe it to ourselves to be happy. Life's short and precious, and we've all got awesome gifts to give, even if we're not aware of what they are. So I encourage people to, to do what you teach, Brett, to find their happiness and just enjoy their life that much more.
Thank you, Chris, and thank you everybody for watching. Watch the next episode, subscribe, and go have fun. Bye.